All right, let's head over to our other big mover of the day, and that is Nvidia planning to release 3 new chips for China. Now, that's according to a report from the Star Market Daily. The chipmaker could announce them as early as next week. Now, this comes following last month when the AI chip giant said that new export restrictions could block it from selling 3 of its chips in China. Nvidia has over a 90% share of China's AI chip market. For more on this, Yahoo Finance's tech editor Dan Howley is here. Dan, we're seeing some movement in the stock this morning, up nearly 2%. Talk to us just about what this could mean for Nvidia's business and maybe offsetting some of the risk that we were talking about just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Sean, I think it's important to point out at the jump that this is from, according to Bloomberg at least, a state-affiliated outlet. So, do with that what you will. But it says that there are 3 new chips coming, and that has to basically give a boost to what Nvidia has to potentially offer as far as China goes. They had previously put together 2 chips that were under the prior administration's kind of ban on shipping products to China. Those were the H800 and A800. And so those were really meant to, from Nvidia's standpoint, say, take the power of those capabilities for those chips down a notch to what the administration's threshold was, and then say, okay, now we can ship this to China. The most recent administration moves basically, cut those out at the knee and say, those are still too powerful for shipping to China. Not only that, but it's not those just the AI specific chips. Their highest end gaming chip also can't go to China. That's a big deal in and of itself. Obviously, the data center side of Nvidia makes more money now. The gaming side was previously its breadwinner, but gaming is still a big part of the formula there, especially in China. They sell a lot of those graphics cards to China. When it comes to gaming, it's primarily a PC market. Consoles don't really have penetration there. So the fact that the highest end chip can't get there is a big deal. The margins on those chips are a lot higher than the lower end chips. Obviously, it just makes sense. So that's a problem. But the idea that they would have 3 new chips shipping to China, and according to this report, it would be coming on the 16th of this month. So that's a big deal for Nvidia of itself. Still being able to play in the China space, Jensen Huang, as well as AMD CEO Lisa Su, they both said that, look, this isn't really going to be impactful to them materially. You got to wonder if these new chips are going to give them a boost then, or if it's not going to be that big of a deal. But, if it wasn't such a problem, then you wouldn't have Nvidia obviously trying to cut down on the power of its chips and then go out and say, okay, here's 3 more that we could potentially sell in China and send out there. So, I think it's going to still have to get the okay from the administration if it does, and then it'll eventually start shipping out there. But this is clearly going to be an ongoing issue if the administration continues to, put pressure on these companies to ensure that they're not shipping super high-end chips to China. Nvidia is the biggest brand in the world when it comes to AI chips. It's not just companies like, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon that are trying to get their hands on their capabilities. It's companies around the world, some that you don't even, know as regular names. So there's a huge market out there for these. China, obviously, a huge market for them. So for them to be able to sell in there is going to be a big deal. And if they can get these out there, then, it's something that I think Nvidia obviously wants to ensure they're able to do.
Dan, just briefly, does this mean that Nvidia perhaps would not be able to get some of the dollars that are earmarked for and under the CHIPS Act, where that's to increase capacity here in the U.S. and efforts here in the U.S.? Does that mean that they're identifying this and saying the opportunity is greater if we have something that goes directly into China and we're able to develop something for that market while perhaps not putting the same chips in that market and not upsetting the administration here, or risking upsetting the administration and not getting some of that funding?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because NVIDIA doesn't build its own chips. TSMC builds chips for NVIDIA primarily. And so, when it comes to the CHIPS Act, the idea is really about onshoring chips themselves, the manufacturing facilities, the fabs, as they're referred to. So, I don't know necessarily if they're trying to appease the administration by doing this. I think it's just, the administration saying, hey, knock it off. And they're like, hey, all right, no big deal. We'll put out some other chips that, are up to your standards. And so I don't necessarily know if it's related to CHIPS Act. But so many companies have applied for funding through the CHIPS Act because why not, right? Just take a shot, try to get some of that money, and see what you can do. TSMC is part of them, Samsung, Intel, but I'm not too sure that Intel is, Nvidia is worried about upsetting the apple cart. With these chips to China. I think it's more along the lines of ensuring that they can still sell to China in some aspect, and so just powering down the capabilities of the chips, maybe reworking them, is a means to do that.
And solid reminder and good detail there. Our own tech editor, Daniel Howley. Dan, appreciate it this morning.